So far we've learned several different ways of getting data into SAS, a necessary prerequisite before we can conduct any sort of analysis. This video was all about making that data easier to read and by extension more useful. As we've already seen, we often want to produce reports or some other form of output for others to read. As you may have noticed, without some background knowledge about the data, a list or table full of numbers is usually not very meaningful. However, entering variable values as character variables is time-consuming, makes for inefficient coding, and limits the kinds of analysis we're able to conduct. Recall the HT_WT7 dataset from a previous video. This data is perfectly valid and able to be analyzed just as it is. But let's say that you want to change the appearance of this list report in order to make it a little easier to read. For instance, you may want more descriptive variable names, or you may want the values for the variables to be more easily interpretable. Labels alter the appearance of variable names in SAS output, but not the underlying names stored in the SAS dataset. Formats alter the appearance of variable values in SAS output, but not the underlying values stored in the SAS dataset. You can create labels and formats in data and proc steps. If you include your labels and formats in a data step, they become permanently associated with the variables in the dataset. However, if you include them in a proc step, they're only associated with the variables in the output of that specific report. Remember that the descriptor portion of SAS datasets stores variable attributes such as the name, type, and length of your variables. You can also add labels and formats to the descriptor portion of the SAS dataset in a data step in order to permanently associate them with variables. Here is the general form of the label statement. You start with the SAS keyword label. After the keyword label, you enter the name of the variable you want to label, followed by an equal sign, and then the descriptive label you want to apply to that variable, placed in either single or double quotes. You may label multiple variables in a single label statement, and labels can be up to 256 characters long. After a label has been permanently associated with a variable, you may choose to view the label or the variable name in list reports generated by Proc Print. Now, watch this demonstration. In this SAS program, you will use the import wizard to import an Excel spreadsheet called Hospital Survey. Looking at the results from the contents procedure, you can see that this dataset includes 100 observations and 16 variables. Notice that the labels for every variable are identical to the variable names themselves, the default when imported without labels. Also notice that in many cases, the variable name is not very informative. Let's add labels to the variable names in a data step to improve readability. Here you are telling SAS to create a new SAS dataset called Hospital2 and store it in the library called ntrhd. The set statement tells SAS to get values for the new dataset from an existing dataset called Hospital1, which is also stored in the library ntrhd. Next, you use the SAS keyword label to tell SAS that you want to add a label to a variable name. The variable name that you feed into SAS is addDate. You then tell SAS that the label for addDate equals, or is, date of admission. Similarly, the label for check 1 is check in process. Notice that labels can be assigned to multiple variables in one statement, so there's only one semicolon. Finally, you will finish with a run statement. As you can see, addDate and check 1 now have the labels you just created assigned to them. Now let's view the data using Proc Print. And as you can see here, the labels are not used as column headings by default in the list report that results from Proc Print. However, you can tell SAS to use them by adding the label option to the Proc Print statement. Here, you added the label option to the proc statement of the print procedure. And there they are. While we're here and talking about the readability of output, did you notice that with 100 observations, this is the largest dataset you've used so far? You already know how to use the var statement in a proc print to select and order the variables that are displayed. But what if you also want to select the number of observations that are displayed? You can do that with the obs equals options in the proc print statement. Notice the parentheses around the entire obs equals option. And there's the list report of the first 10 observations in your dataset. This concludes the video on labels. Remember that labels affect the appearance of variable names in your SAS output, but not the actual variable names in your dataset. Next, we'll learn how to apply formats to your data values.